Hey, welcome back, my friend. It's Emma here, and you've just clicked on one of the most powerful and inspiring stories we've ever shared here on English Phrases Hub. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt stuck? Like no one could hear you or understand you? Now, imagine this. You can't see, you can't hear, you can't speak. The world is silent, dark, isolated. Most people would give up, but not Helen Keller. Today's story is about how one young girl who couldn't see, hear, or speak found a way to learn, to communicate, and to inspire millions. She became an author, a speaker, and a fighter for human rights, even when the world told her it was impossible. And here's the best part. While you listen to her story, you'll also be learning real English, useful vocabulary, natural phrases and expressions that you can use in everyday conversations. The story will be told by our friend Jake slowly and clearly, so it's perfect for both beginner and intermediate learners. After the story, we'll have a fun little quiz to test your understanding. And then we'll review the most important vocabulary and phrases to help it all stick. So get comfy, grab your notebook if you'd like, because you're about to hear a story that could change the way you see the world and the way you learn English. Let's begin the incredible journey of Helen Keller.
Let's go back to the year 1880, to a small town in Alabama in the United States. That's where a baby girl named Helen Keller was born. At first, everything seemed normal. She was a happy baby, full of energy, always smiling. But then something happened. When Helen was just 19 months old, she got very sick. Doctors believe it was probably scarlet fever or meningitis. She survived the illness, but when it was over, everything had changed. Helen could no longer see, and she could no longer hear. Imagine that for a second. You're not even 2 years old. The world goes completely dark, completely silent. No more colors, no more voices. Not even your mother's touch makes sense anymore. That was Helen's world. She was still alive, but trapped inside herself. She couldn't speak. She couldn't understand others, and no one could understand her. She would cry, scream, and even hit things. She was frustrated. She wanted to communicate, but didn't know how. Her parents didn't know what to do. They loved her deeply, but they were afraid. They wondered, will our daughter ever learn? Will she ever speak? Or even understand us? But even in the silence, even in the darkness, Helen was watching, feeling, and thinking. She was waiting for something or someone to help her unlock her voice. And that someone was coming soon. Helen was now 6 years old. Still deaf, still blind, and still trapped in a world she didn't understand. Her parents were desperate to help her, so they searched for answers. And finally, they found someone. Her name was Anne Sullivan, a young woman just 20 years old. She had poor eyesight herself and had gone through many struggles growing up. But Anne was strong, patient, and full of hope. She believed that Helen could learn if she just had the right teacher. And so, Anne moved into the Keller home. From day one, it wasn't easy. Helen didn't trust her. She was wild, angry, and out of control. But Anne didn't give up. She began teaching Helen a new language, not with sounds or books, but by spelling words into the palm of Helen's hand. She would take Helen's hand and press the letters one by one. For example, for the word doll, Anne would put a doll in Helen's hand and then spell D-O-L-L into her other hand. At first, Helen memorized the signs, but didn't really understand what they meant. To her, it was just shapes and movements, until something incredible happened. One day, Anne took Helen outside to the water pump. She placed Helen's hand under the flowing water, and with her other hand, she spelled the word W-A-T-E-R again and again. And then something clicked. Helen's face lit up. She finally understood. The cold liquid on her hand had a name. It was water. For the first time, she realized that everything around her had a name. The world wasn't silent anymore. It was full of meaning. Helen began touching everything and asking for its name. Pump, cup, mother, flower. That was the moment. The breakthrough. The door had opened, and Helen Keller was ready to learn everything. After that magical moment at the water pump, Helen was unstoppable. She wanted to learn everything, and Anne Sullivan was by her side every step of the way. Helen started learning hundreds of new words. She learned how to read using Braille, a system of raised dots that you can feel with your fingers. She learned how to write using a special typewriter. And believe it or not, she even learned how to speak. Yes, speak. It wasn't easy. She couldn't hear her own voice, so every sound took time, effort, and patience. But Helen had something stronger than sight or sound. She had determination. She studied hard. She practiced every day. She made mistakes and kept going. And eventually, she did something almost no one thought was possible. She went to college. Not just any college. She attended Radcliffe College, one of the best in the country. And in 1904, she graduated with honors, becoming the first deaf-blind person in the world to earn a university degree. Can you imagine? Reading with your fingers, writing without seeing, learning without hearing a single word? But Helen did it, because learning gave her something powerful, a voice she would use to speak to the world. After college, Helen Keller could have lived a quiet, private life. She had already achieved more than anyone expected. But Helen wasn't done. She knew her story wasn't just about her. It was about everyone who had ever felt invisible, unheard, forgotten. So she made a decision. She would use her voice not to complain, but to change the world. Helen became a public speaker, writer, and activist. Yes, she stood in front of large crowds, speaking clearly and confidently, even though she couldn't hear the sound of her own voice. She gave speeches across the United States and around the world. She met with presidents, prime ministers, and even royalty. She spoke with Albert Einstein. She became friends with Mark Twain. She inspired millions. But what did she speak about? Helen didn't just talk about disability. She spoke about justice, equality, and freedom. She fought for the rights of people with disabilities, but also for women's rights, for education, and for peace. She believed that no one, no matter their body, background, or ability, should be left behind. She worked with organizations to help the blind and deaf. She raised money. She wrote 14 books and hundreds of essays and letters. Her most famous book was called The Story of My Life, which has inspired generations of readers, including probably you and me. And Helen kept working, well, into her 70s. She never let her challenges define her. Instead, she used them to connect with others, to build bridges, to open hearts. People often asked her, "How can you stay so positive when you've lived in darkness and silence for so long?" And she would smile and say something like, "Although the world is full of suffering, it is also full of the overcoming of it." That's Helen Keller, a woman who couldn't hear or see, but who helped the world listen more deeply and see more clearly.
Wow. What a journey, right? From a little girl who lived in silence and darkness to a woman who spoke to the world, Helen Keller's life is more than just inspiring. It's a reminder that our limits are not always real. And here's the amazing part for you as an English learner. By listening to this story, you didn't just hear about Helen Keller. You practiced real English in a natural, powerful way. You heard new words. You learned how to describe challenges, courage, and change. So, how can you use this story to grow your English? First, replay it. Listening again helps your brain connect more deeply. Second, write down 1 or 2 new words or phrases that stood out to you. Third, try saying them out loud, in your own sentence. Use them in your day. That's how we build fluency, step by step, word by word, story by story. All right, my friend, it's time to test your listening and understanding with a quick quiz. I'll ask you 5 quick questions. You can pause after each one to think or say your answer out loud. Ready? Here we go. Question 1. How did Helen Keller lose her sight and hearing? Was it A, she was born that way, B, an accident at age 10, C, a sickness when she was a baby? The correct answer is C, a sickness when she was a baby, around 19 months old. Question 2. What was the name of Helen's teacher, the one who changed her life? The answer is Anne Sullivan, her teacher, guide, and lifelong friend. Question 3. What was the first word Helen understood when Anne spelled it into her hand at the water pump? The answer is water. That moment changed everything. Question 4. Which college did Helen Keller graduate from? A, Harvard, B, Radcliffe, C, Princeton. The correct answer is B, Radcliffe College, and she graduated with honors. Question 5. True or false? Helen Keller gave speeches around the world and wrote over 10 books. The answer? True. She became a world-famous speaker and author, writing 14 books and inspiring millions. Nice job. If you got 2 or 3 right, that's great. If you got all 5, amazing work. And if you missed any, no worries at all. You can always go back and listen again. That's how we learn. Now, are you ready to review some of the most useful vocabulary and expressions from today's story? Let's jump into it. 1. Deaf-blind. This means a person who can't hear and can't see. Imagine living in silence and darkness. It's a huge challenge. But today's story showed us that even someone who is deaf-blind can achieve amazing things. Example: Helen Keller was deaf-blind, but she still became a writer and speaker. 2. Sickness. This is when your body isn't feeling well, like when you catch a cold or have a fever. In Helen's story, her sickness changed her life. Example: after the sickness, she lost her hearing and sight. 3. Trapped. If you're trapped, it means you can't get out, like being stuck somewhere or even stuck in your own mind. Helen felt trapped because she couldn't communicate with the world. Example: she was trapped in silence with no way to express herself. 4. Frustrated. We feel frustrated when something is really hard and we don't know how to fix it. Helen felt this way a lot as a child. Example: she got frustrated because nobody could understand what she wanted. 5. Palm. Your palm is the inside part of your hand, where your fingers connect. Helen's teacher used her palm to teach her how to communicate. Example: Miss Sullivan spelled words into the palm of Helen's hand. 6. Keep going. A simple but powerful phrase. It means don't give up. Even when things are hard, just keep going. Example: she kept going even when people told her it was impossible. 7. Full of meaning. When something is full of meaning, it's not just nice, it's deep. It has a purpose or strong emotion behind it. Example: her words were full of meaning. They touched people's hearts. 8. Breakthrough moment. This is the moment when everything changes, when something finally works, or you understand something clearly. Helen's breakthrough moment came when she connected the word water to the cool liquid in her hand. Example: that was her breakthrough moment, the first time she truly understood a word. 9. Word by word. This means learning something slowly, step by step. In Helen's case, she learned language word by word. Example: she built her vocabulary word by word with the help of her teacher. 10. Build bridges. This phrase means creating understanding between people, connecting hearts, cultures, or communities. Helen helped build bridges between the deaf-blind community and the world. Example: her work helped build bridges between the deaf-blind community and the world. Wow, those phrases really speak volumes, don't they? And here's the best part. You can start using them right away, in your conversations, in your writing, or even in your journal. They're not just English phrases. They're tools to express real thoughts and real emotions. You did such a great job today, my friend. You listened to a powerful story and learned real, useful English, step by step, word by word. We talked about Helen Keller's journey, how she moved from a world of silence and darkness to becoming a global voice of hope, courage, and change. And while following her journey, you picked up practical vocabulary, inspiring phrases, and ways to use them in real life. Amazing, right? It's incredible how much one story can teach us. Just remember, learning English doesn't have to be boring. Stories like this don't just teach you words, they help you grow in language and in heart. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel for more real, powerful stories, and leave a comment. I'd love to hear what inspired you most about Helen Keller's story. You're doing amazing, seriously. Keep going, keep learning, and never forget, even in silence, you can still speak with strength, and even in darkness, you can still shine bright. Want more? Watch these other episodes and keep learning English through real stories, one word at a time. Take care, and I'll be right here waiting for you in the next story.